My wife cheated on me with her boss and expected forgiveness, so I left her and did this, my soon-to-be ex-wife, and I both love the movie. When Harry Met Sally, written by author Nora Ephron, also wrote a book called Harburn, which is a slightly fictionalized novel based on her marriage to Cal Bernstein, one of the journalists who broke the Watergate scandal. The book was made into a movie with Mary Streep as Ephron and Jack Nicholson as Bernstein. It turns out Bernstein is rather narcissistic, and more than a little, Ephron discovered he was cheating on her while she was pregnant. Her world fell apart. At the end of the book and movie, she felt compelled to leave her bad, cheating husband and embark on her journey as a single mother with a young child. As for me, my wife cheated on me with her boss. It's no exaggeration to say she was living a double life, going on vacations with this man disguised as business trips and so on. After 2 years of trying for a reconciliation, which wasn't really a real thing, I gave my wife a Tim Matuma change jobs or file for divorce. She negotiated. So I did. Since then, I've fought vigorously for 50% custody of our 2 young children. She's fought vigorously for child support. All of that is background. My wife and I still cohabit while the divorce is pending, and although we don't speak almost regularly these days, I still get little glimpses into her mind and world. So the other day I see that she's brought Harburn home from the strange library. I think I can't imagine being in her position and wanting to read a book that deals with infidelity so harshly. It doesn't sound like that would be a pleasant read. Then it occurs to me she thinks it's Hebron, not Bernstein. Look, I'm the one who filed for divorce. So in her world, she's the one being abandoned and thrown out into the cold world as a single mother, just like Hebron in the book. She sees herself as the victim. Over the month, she's made many statements to the effect of, "I never wanted the divorce. You were the one who chose to divorce me." My God, the level of self-deception, the self-justification this implies is simply astounding to me, almost to the level of a mental illness. But on the other hand, it's the same self-deception and self-justification you would need to do what she did with her boss, including refusing to quit her job. It's simply breathtaking to me how disconnected from reality she is in this situation, friends. Cheaters are not normal. They are not. It's a shame. We have to learn these things the hard way, but never doubt that it's the truth. Update. It's all a farce. They don't change, and they feel no remorse. 3 years ago, I discovered my wife's affair with her married coworker and superior. There was a lot of drama. I attempted reconciliation for the sake of our young children, now 3 years old. At that time, my wife cried a lot and promised to change. She indicated that she had woken up from her lethargy and realized how wrong her behavior was. She was on a path of personal change, wrote the no contact letter, etc. She swore she would never speak to him again, but she knew she wouldn't change her job. So after 2 years of attempts at reconciliation, I finally understood that if I kept working with that guy, the marriage was never going to work, or the affair was going to continue or resurface in the very near future. After filing for divorce, her attitude changed dramatically. There was no more remorse. She no longer looked at herself with self-loathing in the mirror. It turns out she reconsidered. It was all my fault. All along, she says, I'm a monster, am a terrible husband and father, the opposite of what she said when she begged. Please don't divorce me now. We're close to finalizing our divorce, and guess what? I find out now she's back in contact with her still married coworker. I don't feel like blowing this up again. I already did pretty well the first time. I thought leaving all this behind me, but it's so obvious how fake her attempt at reconciliation was. She never got over this guy. She never saw the error of her ways. It's just that she was instilling it. Now that I'm mostly out of the picture, lovers are free to reunite. That was on her mind all this time. I'm sure that when this situation blows up for her a second time, whether in 6 months or 6 years, it'll be gone and there won't be anyone else to blame because she herself, because you see, it's not about me. It never was. I take no responsibility for her actions. I don't care what others say. I don't care if people insist I take responsibility for my half of the marriage. My wife knows what she's doing is wrong, but she simply doesn't care and apparently feels no remorse. She doesn't give a damn about the other spouse. Again, I take no responsibility for her or her actions if she wants to pursue married men. That says nothing about me or my character. It says everything about her, edited to add many people comment saying, I should inform the other spouse. I already did when this all blew up. No, I'm not going to do it again. She's aware of her husband's character. She's accepting her own risk at this point, besides for purely selfish reasons, and not going to get involved in this matter in any way for any reason anymore. All it does is create excuses for the lovers to somehow link their behavior. To me, the only way to break that chain is to walk away completely from now on. Their actions are no one's responsibility but their own. Comment and my response: you didn't tell the other spouse. If you haven't, please do it now. She needs to. I told her to get tested for sexually transmitted diseases when I first found out 3 years ago she and her lover reconciled, or so she thinks her marriage is no longer my problem. 4-years update dot. If you're undecided, some thoughts. Many of you are undecided about reconciliation, whether to try it, whether it can really work. Let me share some thoughts based on my experience. 7 years ago, I found out my ex-wife was having a full-blown affair with her boss. At the time, we had two very young children, and I didn't see the marriage as broken before the affair. So I was motivated to try to repair the relationship. I tried for 2 years. They were the 2 worst years of my life. Then I filed for divorce, which really took a whole year, also miserable. But now, I've been single for 4 years. Looking back, the summary is I wish I had filed for divorce immediately. Yes, the last 4 years have been very difficult as a single father. With 50-50 custody, yes, alimony is about to bankrupt me. No, I haven't been as busy in the intimate sphere as I should have been, but I still wish I had filed. The decision was made long before, but the purpose of this post isn't me, it's the lover's wife. Here's what I know. The lover's wife was a housewife with no career. After the affair was discovered, they were working through Christian counseling to repair the marriage. The lover and my ex declared their intention to have no contact, although they still work together to this day. The lover and his wife are still married. If you're wondering if they were successful in reconciling, I don't know, but I would presume so since they are still married 7 years later. I don't know if the lover and my ex are still involved, but I do know that at least at the time, I was getting divorced 2 or 3 years after the no contact period, they were still in contact. So their reconciliation was built entirely on lies. She may think that she and her husband reconciled, but in short, it's a fact that their reconciliation wasn't what she thought it was. In the worst case scenario, her husband could still be involved with my ex. In short, my perfect life hasn't been easy the 5 years since I filed for divorce have not been easy by any means. The divorce cost me a fortune, yes, but I'm glad to be in my position and not in the position of the lover's wife. Absolutely, yes, I am so glad. I left that marriage when I did. I wish I had done it sooner. If I were still in the marriage and found out that the last 7 years of reconciliation were based on a lie, I don't know what I would do. Take all of this into consideration when thinking about your own situation. Most of the reasons tend to be very vague and emotionally charged. The love of my life, the soulmate, the children. So they get stuck in a very uncomfortable state of dissonance for as long as the reconciliation lasts. I am so glad I had the opportunity to end that marriage at first. It was difficult and traumatic, but the fact that I was able to invest time and energy in working on myself and healing ultimately gave infinitely better returns than if I had invested it in fixing a broken marriage. Now I am living a life I couldn't have had if I had stayed, and that would have deprived me of a tremendous privilege in terms of experiences and growth. I am a much better version of myself, living a much better life surrounded by much better people with a much better partner. Trading that outcome for the privilege of staying in a relationship with someone who didn't respect me and betrayed me seems absurd now. However, I had to learn to trust the process, and parts of the journey definitely weren't easy. Many low and dark moments and the uncertainty and trauma at the beginning can certainly make the process seem too challenging. That said, as I said before, leaving isn't an option for everyone, and my heart goes out to them. Reddit user comment, I thought I had a successful reconciliation. It took years to be happy again, but eventually I was the happiest I've ever been. Then it happened again. Then I realized it will always happen again because these people have no morals, and the moment things aren't perfect in the relationship, they will go back to whatever brings them some temporary joy. Chances are she's done it more times than I ever did, and I just never caught her. Life isn't great, money isn't great, but I no longer have to worry about whether my wife is out there cheating on me again. Just knowing I'm in control of my life now, and the fact that she can't hurt me anymore, makes it all worthwhile. I got 2 amazing kids from this, and that's all. I Need Story 2, Betrayed and Surprised. I've been watching this sub since the day 4 months ago and finally decided to make a post about it. This will be long, sorry in advance, basically. 4 months ago, my now separated husband, 29, completely surprised me, also 29. We met in 2019, and practically after a month he started living with me. I live with my mom, I help her financially, and it's a big house officially. He was in the military, so he still had his room on base, but he practically came one day and never left. It was like we fit together perfectly. We balanced each other really well. We got engaged after 2 years and married 3 months later. He officially moved out after. We got married. We adopted 2 cats and 2 dogs together. I literally felt like he fit perfectly into my life and he was very much in love with me. He was very proud to have me and insisted that it would be his only marriage, that I wouldn't be a statistic, etc. I always felt like he knew what he had was that he had only been in our state for a few months before we met and he has no family here. So my friends became his friends, etc. He got out of the army and is now a dental assistant pursuing his dream of becoming a dental hygienist. I encouraged his dreams and thought we had a plan. Our cohabitation situation caused friction. At times, I let my mom get too involved. He tried to tell me, but I didn't really understand. Obviously, now I can see why this was problematic. A few months ago, we considered moving. But he said we should stay to save money and if he got into school on the other side of the state next year. He didn't want us to have to move again, so I agreed. I couldn't tell he was unhappy, but I didn't think it was because of me. We had the kind of relationship that people envy. We were best friends. We did everything together. We went on trips together. He showed me everywhere. We shared locations and passwords and everything. I trusted him. I was fine with him having female friends. I was a relaxed wife. We used to go to nightclubs together for the most part. He treated me really well, but he always had anger issues. He would just explode. I basically told him he needed to learn to manage that, or I was going to leave him. We weren't a perfect couple, nobody is, but all the problems we had. I didn't think any of them were insurmountable. He always swore over and over that if there was something he needed to change, he would give me a chance to fix it. The day came, he had been on a bachelorette weekend with my friend. He came home acting really strange and distant the next day. He went out for drinks with coworkers after work, but he came home a little late. I was a little suspicious, so naturally, I looked at his Apple Watch while he was showering. Turns out he was with a coworker and she was massaging his feet. I had been texting her all weekend. Naturally, I went into the bathroom and demanded to see his phone. He refused. He came into our room and I said, "Who the hell is this? You were cheating on me and that's why you had to come home and shower immediately." I wasn't, but I didn't know it at the time. It turns out I had. Also bought her t-shirts at 2 concerts we had recently gone to. I knew she was buying them for a friend. I was fine with this until I found out everything else. I lost it. I yelled at him that he had used me. I hated him. He was a liar and a cheat. And I wanted a divorce. He seemed almost catatonic. Suddenly he claims he's unhappy in our marriage and that it's not working. I told him to get out of my house. He went to a hotel. I texted her very politely and said, "Please tell me what happened." He called me the next day and asked if I would let him see the dogs and if we would continue with the divorce. He said he didn't know if that was what I wanted and that he was just at the hotel until the next day I told him I couldn't come home yet. And that I wasn't ready to talk to him. He asked why I texted her and told her clearly that you're still protecting her. You should tell her not to mess with other women's husbands if she's afraid of me, but I'm not interested in having. There was a drama. With her too, she had archived all the photos of us on Instagram and asked me why I did it. She said she didn't want people to know. I really don't think she grasped the gravity of the situation, and I think this is the point where he really fell apart. I don't think he truly understands that what he did was cheat. He had strong values and ethics. He has a lot of insecurities and abandonment issues. I think by messaging her, he felt he had lost me, and by defending her, I felt I had lost him. He stopped. Sharing his location with me, stayed at the hotel a few more days and found a room to rent. Part of me wonders what would have happened if I had let him come home. Part of me wishes I had the next day I went to see him at the hotel and we had a long conversation. I offered to live separately and go to couples therapy. He said no, that he didn't know if he loved me or what he wanted and that he thought we might just be incompatible and too different. Suddenly, after 4 years, he says, Hayes, still hurting me and doesn't know why he keeps following me and that I deserve better. He says he doesn't know it's about the other person Hayes changed, so I tell him, "Okay, I'll file for divorce tomorrow." He says, "No, let's separate, but stay married so he can keep the insurance." Now Hayes in the National Guard. We both cried. He said, I gave him everything, and he wasted it. But then he seemed so indifferent. It wasn't a big deal. A month after we separated, he took me to renew. I let him know a few things about what a bad person she is. She had a boyfriend too, and the way she dumped me. The only reason Hayes trying so hard to replace me is because I'm everything to him. I told him he needs to learn from this hell repeat. The same patterns forever. He also told me he hadn't slept with her or anyone else. I didn't ask him. I told him. I wouldn't beg, but am willing to fight for us, and so is he. He cried and told me he loved me, but that was it. I'm not sure about his relationship. With her now, we've separated so he can date other people if he wants. I know he spent a lot of time with her and told her he was going to marry her, so obviously that almost killed me. I've been stalking his Pinterest and Hayes been keeping a lot of wedding stuff and rings, then suddenly about a month ago, He deleted an article about the bitter truth about affairs, then nothing remotely romantic. All of this seems incredibly out of character for the man I knew everyone who knows us knew how much we loved each other. We had everything that healthy couples have, and yet it still happened. Honestly, it almost seems like he had some kind of mental breakdown or something. Maybe he is in some kind of infidelity fog. I don't know. He has anxiety and trauma, so he changed medications not long before this happened. I suspect that might have affected his mental state, but I honestly don't know. It could be bipolar or borderline personality disorder, but I'm not a psychiatrist. Hayes been in individual therapy for years. I was definitely pushing him away too. Not that I'm excusing him at all, but I can completely see the slippery slope of crossing boundaries with a coworker. When you're feeling disconnected at home, his behavior also seems incredibly impulsive. He always said I was the best thing that ever happened to him, the love of his life, his best friend, his only and true. And I was always afraid of getting lost. Then suddenly starting to find fault with me and questioning our competence makes me wonder if this had anything to do with her. He stopped loving me to fall in love with her. He definitely put me on a pedestal, so why did he suddenly lose faith? In me, he was very clingy, and I think we had some codependency. So maybe that's what pulled us apart in the end. I elevated him so much and did so much for him and for us. Now I feel like a forgotten, abandoned, and discarded first wife thrown away. For a younger model with no real expectations or obligations, of course I can't compete with a fantasy. But how can someone you just met compete with your wife who has been your rock for years? It's been a real emotional whiplash for me to go from being together, or at least talking every day for almost 4 years with our planned future, to simply nothing. From him being everything to me to nothing. I always felt secure. I never saw this coming, nor did I ever question his love for me. My whole world has been shaken. Maybe I put too much of myself into him, but I never had a reason not to. He was my person. He was my refuge. He was my home. I was his until I wasn't anymore. He liked being put in his place until he didn't like it anymore. He only had eyes for me until he didn't anymore. He was everything I ever wanted and needed until suddenly he wasn't anymore. I feel like he died, and like he killed a big part of me in the first few weeks. I legitimately thought I was dying. I didn't. Eat for 3 weeks, I lost 9 kilograms, and I didn't have 9 kilograms to lose, basically all I did was go to work, come home, and fall apart. My sense of trust, safety, and security has been shattered. If questioned reality, my emotions range from pain, despair, anger, longing, and emptiness. I definitely have betrayal trauma and am definitely still fighting hard, but slowly am trying to climb out of the lowest point. I've been in individual therapy. I'm starting school next month, and I had a viewing for a new job. A few days ago, I've applied for about 30 jobs in the last few weeks because I hate my job. I've been forcing myself to eat more and have gained some weight back. I know I'm young. I know I can find someone. I know my life isn't over. I know I'm strong. But I miss him. I miss my life. I hate spending each day without him. I don't think I have the capacity to love that way again. I don't think I want to. I cry for the future that was suddenly taken from me. I really thought we would overcome anything. Together, I really thought we were solid. I have a huge void inside me that I don't think can ever be filled. I know none of this is my fault, and I don't blame myself, but I took it for granted. We were at a weak point, and I know I contributed to that. I should have set better boundaries with him. Absolutely. He should have communicated with me instead of someone else, of course. But I can't help but be surprised when someone leaves. Alejo has come to see our pets a few times and has sent me money for them, but I felt it was too inconsistent, so I cut off all contact the last time. I spoke to him was a month ago, and I last saw him 2 months ago. I deleted him from my social media, but he saw my Instagram story the other day. He really needs to feel the loss of me, but I feel like he replaced me, so maybe he doesn't care anyway. I know this is the result of something broken in him, and only he can fix it. I imagine if he could face himself. He'd be horrified by the destruction Hayes caused, but I don't know if he can, and of course he can't face me if he can't even face himself. Part of me still hopes he'll come to his senses, but I don't know why when Hayes clearly shown how little he values me, I feel like Hayes completely written me off. My life and my future were built around him. His life was built around me until he ripped it all off and threw it away. If someone can love me so much and still just throw me away so easily, how can I ever trust anyone again? I feel like my life has now been divided into a before and an after, and there never should have been an after in our wedding vows. I said he came in suddenly and wove himself perfectly into my life as if had always been there, and now the way he left so abruptly and violently is like had never been there at all. Update, I deserve to be mean. This is so mean, but I'm surviving pure spite right now. I saw a picture of him and his mistress today, and he looks like he's probably gained 18 kilograms and looks miserable, and she looks strangely like me, but like a basic low cost brand name version of me, like the version of me who would be a low class cheater and never had a guy before me. Of course, it's just a picture. Maybe Hayes happier, but he looked so much more alive in pictures of us. I know a cheater isn't any PR, but he looked better with me and we looked better together. Also, he told her, and not motivated because I hadn't gone back to school or left the service industry yet. He failed both classes last term. I was going back to take prerequisites to raise. My average, actually, I was going to take one of them for him because I knew I could get an easy one. Now I'm back in school taking 4 classes, and so far I have 100 in all of them. I'm still working full time, and finally I found a new job that I start in a couple of weeks. So, loser who's not motivated now, she always said I was the best thing that ever happened to her. Seems like losing that is doing her very well. Reddit user comments mine figured out how much I did for her in a week. Then she stayed with someone who couldn't or wouldn't do anything I did. I'm not perfect, but at least I have the basic survival skills and I can recognize. When someone just wants to take advantage of me, now she jumps from relationship to relationship. She's struggling to pay her bills, and I've built up a nice little cushion and have some investments working for me. I'm single, but I'm really building a life I enjoy. I still have a way to go before I reach my goals, but I know I'm much happier reality has. A way of catching up over time, most affairs are built on fantasy and idealization, which is one of the reasons why they are even more likely to fail than average. So it's not at all improbable that she looks unhappy. It's because she really is. They're probably trying to hold on because doing so creates it's an appearance of validation for infidelity, but just like the affair itself. It's most likely just that an appearance. Remember to post pictures of yourself looking fabulous on your social media, because if you're looking at his, it's very likely that he and his lover are looking at yours. Let them see how great your life is, or simply block them everywhere and enjoy your cheater-free life.